Hello, good evening. I need to tell you that we are already super busy for this brand new set of moulds by Zuri. We've already got queues on the phone lines. The pre-orders have all gone. So I need you to hop online now to check out your baskets. So Kathryn, another set of beautiful new moulds.
Yes. Have you noticed there's something different with these as well, Alex?
What's different?
Look at the size of them.
I know, they are huge.
They're enormous. They really, I don't think anybody quite appreciates the size of the moulds they're going to receive,
right,
even if they've pre-ordered. They are gigantic. Value for money here is just incredible.
It's wonderful. So what we've got is, you've got your, it's called a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And we've got the machines, which I love. It's a little bit steampunky, that one.
It certainly
excellent.
is. Yeah. These are perfect. They're absolutely brilliant. The little bit of everything, it is exactly that. You've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of steampunk in there. You've got a cameo, a beautiful lady silhouetted there. You can see that. That's one of my favourite pieces, actually. You've got those beautiful embellishments. You've got florals. You've got the crown. You've got the sun and the moon there as well, which are absolutely beautiful. They are stunning, seriously. The machines, Alex, is a little bit different, because at first look, you'll think, oh yes, there's an awful lot of moulds in this one as well. Where the owl is and the woodpecker and the pipes at the bottom, they're actually all one mould.
Indeed.
But of course you can break that down. You don't have to create that enormous piece. But isn't that a statement piece?
I love that, absolutely love that. Right, we are 1 minute in and we are 20% of the stock gone. Also need to let you know that this is here. This is in the country, so we can send this out to you straight away. But again, I need you to hop onto the, I'd say the phone lines, but it's better if you can go onto the website at thecraftstore.com. Check out your baskets, and then you know you've secured it, and then you can sit back and relax and watch all of your lovely demos, Kathryn.
Definitely, definitely. And we have, of course, got the clay as always. We've got the resin on here as well. If you've never worked with a resin before, these are absolutely brilliant for your resin, because you've got bigger pieces in there as well.
I love resin.
Shall we just remind everybody as well, Alex, the quality of these moulds?
Yes,
I mean, we're not
please.
just talking any old mould. We are talking moulds of the best quality. I mean, these are food grade. So if you want to make your cakes, of course, you can use them for your food. Obviously, a different set if you're going for craft and you're going for food as well. Do go for 2 sets. But using your fondants, using your chocolate, using your marzipan, you know, we can freeze these up to 240 degrees centigrade heat-wise is what you can use these up to. So you can put these in the oven. So if you're anyone like me that likes to use polymer clay that you bake in the oven, you can actually put it into the mould and bake it in the oven. If you want to try cookies in there,
why not?
You have a set for food, you can do that as well. And down to -70 in the freezer.
That's
so you,
cool.
You can actually make ice cubes.
Wouldn't they be that? I always say this about the moulds. I'm like, the most elaborate, amazing ice cubes. Wouldn't they be? You'd almost wouldn't want it to melt, would you? So look, we are super busy here. You've got a £15 saving as part of your one-day special. You've got so many elements in here. 36 impressions.
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it, for that money there, when you break that down. And if you're loving the look of these, I'll give you a little hint right now. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we're going to see more of these bigger moulds in the future. Excellent.
So if you want to, you go for it at £54.98, but you can also spread the cost on FlexiBuy. 489734. Again, I'm going to stress this is super busy already, so I know we're going to crack on with the demo straight away. We have a picture sent in. Who's this from?
This is from Korea. Now, Korea's in the Netherlands, and she kindly sent me this picture. I think this is the only picture available that's taken from one of the new moulds, because I believe that the design team, you know, have had different moulds in advance of us. So, you know, so the way that everything falls into place isn't always in sequence to what happens abroad. But isn't that beautiful? You can see the sun and the moon there from the little bit of everything.
Nice. Now, we are now a quarter of the stock gone. Good grief. We're 4 minutes in. As I said, do check out your baskets there, 489734, because I don't want you to miss out on these, because they do always fly out, don't they, Kathryn?
Yeah. And I think this time, do you know, every time I say this, can I choose a favourite? I do get asked, can I choose a favourite? And I've always said, I don't think I really can. The last time I actually said, I think that was one of my favourite one-day specials we've had, but I knew this was coming. I gave that hint and I said, you've got to wait until you see what we've got the next time, because you will be blown away.
Coolio. Right, I'm going to hand over to you then.
Right, okay, so we're going to start exactly where I always start, with the air dry clay. I have got a couple of the moulds with some some resin in here as well. I did pour these, I tried to time this morning so I could pour these to demold during this hour. I could probably do it. They're a little bit soft at the moment, so I'm going to wait until further through the hour and then we'll have a look at those. But we're going to start with the clay anyway. And I've got a couple more moulds to be working with the clay. So we'll start, of course, if we've got new starters there or new viewers and they want to work with these moulds. If you've never ever used a mould before, the air dry, the Hearty is a very good place to start. I'm just going to use the white to begin with. Of course, you can colour that. We've also got the coloured as well, but the white is the one we use mostly. So if I just grab the pack first of all.
Oh, a little update for you. The white clay is being dispatched from the, what was that? 5th of July. Lovely stuff. Okay. Yeah, details are on there for the twin pack.
Yeah, that is great value. 200 grams in each, you're getting 2 of those. This goes a long, long way if you're making it very thin. Obviously, I can't say how many moulds you'll get from it. Depends on the depth of the individual mould, but it's a great way to start. Now, I always like to show at the beginning how it looks from the pack. So this is fresh clay. It wasn't a brand new pack today, but I've had it sealed up. And you can see it looks a little bit fibrous, a little bit fluffy. And you will see that when I pull this apart, it will just break apart. Now, if I went straight into the mould with that, Alex, it's not at the right consistency for me. It wouldn't give me the best results. So we need to condition it. And to condition it, all I do is just sort of work it in my hands. So I'm stretching it, I'm squashing it, and very, very quickly you can start to see how more malleable and elastic this is.
It always reminds me of marshmallow.
It does feel a little bit like marshmallow. You don't get a residue on your hands. You can see it's not leaving a residue there. But it does feel a little bit cold. You don't need to use glue under normal circumstances anyway, because the clay sticks to itself. So if I just get 2 balls of clay and just bring those together, you can see how they, I might be able to pull them apart, but they will stick, and as they dry, they will not go anywhere. So you don't use glue normally. There are exceptions, and if I'm going to get to that point, I will explain why. So when you've given it a good conditioning, you will find that the moisture is actually dispersing into that clay, and it's actually making it a little bit too sticky for the moulds. So what I do from this point, although it's nice and smooth, I'm still not really ready to work with that in the mould. Saying that, the little bit of everything that we've got on tonight, because you've got lots of smaller moulds there, you might find that you can work with your clay a little bit more wet and sticky, so you might not have so much trouble with it. But what I tend to do is roll the clay out. I will leave it so the air gets to the surface. There's no exact thickness, I just kind of roll it out fairly thinly. Let the air get to the surface, flip it over and let the air get to the surface on that side as well. That gives me a little bit of drying time. You genuinely do get to know the feel of the clay. It starts to feel a little bit more rubbery. And I can use clay really quite dry and get great results from a mould. If ever you work with a mould and your clay is sticking into the mould, it is simply that your clay is too wet, or maybe you've got something in your mould that is causing it to stick, so there's any moisture in there. If you've washed it, if you put them in the dishwasher, because you can do that, and you've still got moisture retained in there, that will make your clay stick. Now, my top tip is, rather than putting the clay in, if it is a bit sticky and you can't get it out, don't leave it in there and wait for it to dry, because the top surface will dry, but what's going on deeper in the mould, the water's just going to sink to the bottom. That means it's going to stick even more. So take your clay out and go again. Now, the other tip, and you'll have seen me do this many, many times, is to use a corn flour. You can use talcum powder if you're not using this for any food or edibles. A little bit of corn flour would be really, really good. So let's go in with, let's go for these cogs here. I'm going to work with the beautiful cameo in a little while. So a little bit of corn flour in there. And I am going to work with the clay that's been drying. Obviously, you can paint and use your different finishes onto the moulds, but you can also use your coloured clay directly into the moulds as well. The less coats of paint and finishes that you put onto your dried clay, the less you're going to lose the detail. I've got a stock update here. We are 30% of the stock gone, and we've got a deep stock because these always go. They always fly off the shelves. Again, if you've got it in your basket, check out to secure it, and then you can relax knowing you've got it, and then you can watch the demonstrations for the next 24 hours. There we go. Not that you're here for like a full 24 hours. Right, now what I would suggest with these moulds is if you want to make castings of everything, don't fill it all at once.
Okay.
Do one, take it out, do one, take it out, and I'll explain where as we go along. So I'm just going to use a rolling pin to flatten this down. I think my paintbrush had paint on it, so I can see that transferring to the clay, but that's fine. Now, when you've got that nice and flat, you can see there's any excess clay. So if there is, you can scrape that away. There's only a tiny bit here, so rather than pulling it away, I'm actually pulling it inwards. And I'm just going to tidy up, as I say, with the mould itself. Now, I was going to start with the cameo, and I'm hoping to use it, but I've dropped a bit of resin in there, so I'm hoping that has cured enough not to interfere with my clay.
Yeah.
Right, when you've got that in there, if your clay is too wet at this point, you will find that it's just stretching with the mould, it's just bending with the mould. What's happening here, you can see that edge already, that's popping out. This is quite wet clay, to be fair, but because it's a smaller mould, we can easily take that out.
Detail.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It does look a bit grubby because that's the paintbrush.
Oh, fair enough.
So it was white, but it's not now. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to put that finish on there. But we can do more. We can build those colours as well. So this is where I am now going to use the cameo. I am going to dust it quite well with corn flour because there was some resin in there and I don't want it to stick.
Can you use your anti-static bags?
Oh, look how dirty that brush is. I'm going to get a grey cameo now.
That's all right. It'll look oldie
It'll look
worldy.
all right. I would use corn flour.
Okay.
I would use corn flour.
Fair enough.
You can use talcum powder as well. I mean, some of us use corn flour or talcum powder as an anti-static bag.
True.
So it depends what's in your anti-static bag. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to build this in 2 layers. So I'm actually going to work into the cameo with the white that's now going to go grey. I'm just going to put my glasses on to make sure I get all the detail. And I am going to try and keep within the area of the head of the lady. So this is where, you know, you can be a little bit more careful. You don't really want to overfill the area. And I can see her little nose there.
Oh, yeah.
If you find it easy with a paintbrush tip or a tool of some type, just to push that clay in there, then you can use one. But actually, I think I'll manage. I think I will manage with my fingertips there. Now again, because I'm going to build this in 2 layers, I am actually going to not only push the clay into the mould, but I'm also going to pull in from the edge as well. Because any areas where I'm bleeding over the edge, when I put the next colour in, it is going to show. Just pulled a bit of resin out there that had cured, so that's good. So I don't want to go too full with this one. Now there's a little bit of hair there. So I'm going to try and get a bit in. You know, if you miss a bit, don't worry, there's always ways and means. Just fill that little bit in there. There's also a little area, if I want to be really picky on it, I could just get that little curl in there. I'm pulling it out, I'm doing some corn flour on my fingers, I think. I could get that curl in there, leaving the gap in between the clay. If you can't do it, if it's too fiddly, just go over the top, it won't be the end of the world. We can sort that out afterwards.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to leave that as it is. Maybe top up a little bit more there. And then I'm going to go with another colour and I'm going to go with black.
Right.
Now if you want black hearty clay, the best thing to do is go for the coloured clay itself, because if you try mixing colour into the white, you're just going to end up with different greys. You're not going to get black.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is straight from the pack again, so it's quite wet. It's a little bit too wet for me, but to be fair, because it's the cameo, I think we might get away with it. Now what I'm going to do is squash this out so I can see it's more or less the shape that I want there, because I don't want to disturb what I've got underneath any more than I need to. So I've almost made that into the shape that I need. Just very carefully, I'm going to pull away any excess clay. I am going to go over the top with a rolling pin again, just to make sure that's compacted down, but I am being a little bit careful. Now this is why I wouldn't fill every one of the moulds, Alex, because when I release this now and I'm pushing and flexing the mould, if I'd filled the whole surface all in one go, I would probably find that I'm disturbing or distorting the other ones. So let's have a look. This black was very, very sticky, but hopefully we're going to get this out. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that lovely?
Amazing.
Isn't that lovely? Shall I hold that to the front camera?
Oh, yes, yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, she's... Again, it never fails
Look
to
at that
amaze
rose.
me.
Do you know, I didn't even realise that rose was there like that.
Yeah, it just never fails to amaze me about the detail. Like I said, the quality of these moulds is absolutely phenomenal.
It really is. You can see every curl in her hair. You can see the rose there. Do you know, it's amazing. And if you do get a little bit of overspill of colour where you don't need it, you can always go in with a pen or some paint afterwards. I will, when that has dried, I will be adding some finish to that as well, and we'll be accentuating that detail.
Right, lovely stuff. I love that. Okie dokie, as expected, it's super, super busy. Now, right, if you're on the phone lines, don't give up. Just keep calling if you're having any issues, because we are so busy. So hopefully you'll be able to check out ASAP. We are working on it, but keep on in there, because again, I don't want you to miss out on this these beautiful set of massive moulds here with the 36 impressions. So do bear with us trying to check out. Don't give up, keep going, and we'll try and get the system fixed ASAP. Back to you, Kathryn.
Okay. Right, I'm still using my dirty paintbrush.
So I'm still,
yeah, I can see with the powder, it looks clean, but when I'm putting the powder, I can see it's going grey. But it doesn't matter, because again, you know, I'm going to change the detail, bring the detail out. Now I've switched the moulds from the little bit of anything or everything to the machines. Now, if I just point out one or two things, first of all, I've dusted the owl. You can see the owl is there. We've got the woodpecker at this side. You can see the tail feathers coming down. You're then connected with the piping. You've got cogs in there. It's amazing. You can see all the rivets. You can see all the detail. Yeah, there's cogs all over. There's even a little dial or a little clock there as well. So, you know, if you want to create that whole piece in clay, you can. But my tip here would be, make sure your clay has dried.
Fully.
So not fully.
Okay.
You want to be able to push it in there. You want to be able to compact it down. You want to be able to release it.
Yeah.
But if your clay is very, very wet, you will have no chance of getting that out in one piece.
Because it's so detailed and fine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit different with resin. I'm hoping we can demould the resin before the end of the hour. If not, we will definitely be able to do it for 8 o'clock.
Okay.
We will check it in a minute. But what you can also do is, of course, break this one down. You could just have the owl, you could just have the woodpecker, you could use elements from the pipework, you could take the dial, you could take the cogs. So let's go in with a little bit of colour for the owl. In fact, I'm going to mix a bit of black into this white to make it grey. Why not, since we've already turned the cornflower grey? So to mix your colour in, all you need is a tiny, tiny bit of the coloured hearty, because it's so pigmented, it's so strong. It really is going to colour that very, very quickly. Now, I am going to put a lot of different colours, paint-wise, wax-wise, bringing the detail out onto this. So I'm not really too worried about the colour of this one at the moment. I would have gone in with the black probably, but it's just a little bit too sticky on its own. Right, so let's have a look. I'm not going to do the whole thing. We're going to work with the owl. So we'll go in. If you want to keep it a little bit streaky or marbled, you can as well. You know, it's entirely up to you if you want a solid colour or not. Because I'm not building up in different colours, I am just going to literally push this into the mould. Now, the technique that I use is, if you've got a large area, is just kind of push it in with your fingertips, work it to one end even. You can, that helps you get rid of any excess. Where you've got fiddly areas like the little ears there, or the tail feathers, then maybe that's where you need a bit of a helping hand. If you want to use the end of a paintbrush, if you want to use some sort of tool, if you think you can't get it with your fingers, then yeah, by all means use a little tool there. Now, let me just put my glasses back on. I'm looking at the mould here and I can see that that tail feather actually extends further, but it kind of works into the cogs as well. So where do you know when to start and stop? Well, it's not really that important at this stage. As long as you know you've got all of the tail feathers, as long as you know you've filled the owl, if you go over, don't worry about it. We can sort that out. So I'm just making sure I'm pushing into those tail feathers there. I do hope that this isn't too wet to release. Again, I'm going to go over the top with a rolling pin. Ideally, you want to really sort of compact this right down. I can see now where the excess clay is just spilling over the edge of the mould itself.
Cool.
So I can pull that in or take it away, depending. If I've got far too much, I can take it right away. If it's only a little bit, then I can, of course, just turn it in the other way. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about this area at the bottom because I know I'm going to lose a little bit of that. I'm just hoping now, oh, actually, that's going to work really well. I was going to say the vulnerable part would be the ears and the tail feathers where it's really fine. But because this is such a big mould and because these elements aren't as deep as some of the others, you can actually press a little bit from underneath. Now, I am going to say be very careful when you do that because that is when you can distort the clay. Now, if this was really dry, it would just pop out in one go, and it's sticking a little bit, but we'll get it. There is our beautiful owl.
He's so majestic, isn't he?
He is, isn't it? Look at that. Look at his, yeah.
I love his glasses.
You can see his glasses there.
Steampunk glasses.
There is a little bit of cog there. There's his claws.
Oh, I see.
Coming through, and his tail feathers. So if you really want to get rid of those cogs, you could just snip those away. Now, normally I say take those away when the clay is wet because you can reuse any excess clay. You can let it dry and then snip it away. In this case, because I'm going to work around very fine points, I think I'm probably going to let that dry and then just tidy up afterwards. So we'll pop him to one side. Let's flip the mould back over. Shall we do one of the blends for the woodpecker?
Yes, please.
Right, now I did this on the clay workshop recently, but it's worth doing it again. I know everybody's still having trouble, so I think I'm just going to carry on. Yeah, woodpeckers, what colour are they?
Do they have a bit of blue?
Have they got blue in?
Am I thinking about hummingbirds?
Hummingbirds
we'll have to
are blue
ask
and
Katie
green,
to have a
aren't they?
look.
Are they orange, a woodpecker?
Oh, gosh.
I think you can get redhead, screens. Shall we just go with red and green?
Let's go mad.
There? Red and green mixed together, what would that make? Would it make brown? I've got my colour chart somewhere. So it doesn't really matter what we end up with, we will soon find out.
That's
but it really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of the red, a little bit of the green. Do make sure you seal yours up. Should we have some blue?
Just let's go for it.
Why not? Let's go for some blue as well.
It's funny because
I might go all out here. I normally stick with I normally stick with about 3 colours.
Oh, let's do it.
I'm going with 5.
Ooh, he's going to be extremely colourful.
So I don't need a great deal of all these colours. The green is a very dark green as well. So we've got red, green, blue and some black there. And I'm going to have a big lump of the white. In fact, I'm going to split that white. You might have to, you can't do a recap really, can you? I'm going to say you might have to do a bit of a recap. Right, what order should we put these in? I'm going to move the black away from the green, I think, because they're quite dark together. We'll go like that. So we'll probably find we've got a purple.
Ooh, that would be lovely.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm really pushing the boat out. I'm going to go with a bit more white. Let's pop a bit of white in the middle as well.
Let's play.
Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a pear shape with the white.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a pear shape with the black. It doesn't matter that they're different sizes. They just don't want straight edges.
Yeah.
Let's go with the blue. I could lighten these colours down with white beforehand if I wanted to, but you know, I'm not. Let's go with another piece of white.
I think I did this with you one time.
I think you did it with polymer clay.
Did I?
Yeah.
Ah, was it?
With polymer clay, I do it in the pasta machine.
Ah,
yeah.
I love that.
It's a technique called the Skinner technique. And with the air dry clay, it's not quite as easy to roll it through the pasta machine. So I tend to do this by hand. Now it could take quite some time to get it exactly how I want it, but we'll start to see something happening quite quickly, hopefully. Okay. So all I'm going to do now is start to roll this. And because I made those pear shapes, I haven't got dead straight lines in between, especially this one. You can see that point there. This is what you want. You don't want those straight lines because what you're going to do is fold this in half and then you're going to roll it again. And if you'd got straight lines, all you'd be doing would be matching up those colours every time. So it doesn't have to be massively different, as long as you can see you haven't got definite stripes in there. So every time I fold over and then roll again, those colours are falling in a slightly different place. So what will happen, once I get going, you can just start to see a little bit of a blend coming through here now. You will start to see the colours merging. The reason I've gone in with the extra white this time is to break up those dark colours, because they are, you know, they are pretty dark. So we're just going to start really putting a little bit more pressure on this. I do apologise if this gets a bit boring, because I'm probably going to be doing this for a little while, but you can see now. Normally what we do at this point, Alex, I get going and then I say, do you want to do a recap?
Yeah, we're still trying to fix the technical
carry
issues.
On, but yeah, seeing as we can't do that, you're going to have to watch me instead, I'm afraid.
I like watching it.
Well, whichever side you look at, you can see a difference. Now you can see the white is blending with the black, the blue is starting to merge with that white, the red is going both ways, of course, into the green and the white. So we're starting to see those colours coming through. Now the harder, the thinner you actually that you roll, and the harder that you can press down, the quicker this is actually going to work. And yeah, you can choose a favourite side when you get to the certain point that you're happy with the blend. Now I normally keep going until I can't see any harsh lines at all, so that you get like an ombre effect running through. I might be here all night, so we'll stop at a certain point and we'll put this into the mould. Okay, now look at the green now, that's really starting to merge. Let's have a look at that side. Look, completely different on that side. So I actually prefer that side there, so we're going to go again. I have got one. If anybody watched the clay show, the Clay Masters, a few weeks ago, I did do one of the frames, one of the Zuri frames. I've actually got it with me. I did it in rainbow colours, and although we haven't got the frame on the counter as such, I can show you the effect of it. So I'm going to do a couple more and then we'll put this into the frame, I think.
Cool.
Now look, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for this blend, so you're losing a hard line. Still looks like a flag in the middle.
It does, doesn't it, a little bit? It's all good. We should ask everybody to send in pictures of any moulds they've got previously. That would be lovely to see.
Actually, I think, did we have some pictures sent in by Ian?
Oh, Ian, yes.
Yes, can we have a look? Can we do that? That'll give me a chance to...
oh, look at these.
Right, now, these are amazing. The last one day special we had, Alex, we had this particular mould on the Astrolabe, and it's incredible, it really is. It comes in 3 different parts, and I set a challenge during the live shows for Ian and said, I bet some clever person like Ian Stott would be able to make a mechanism and actually have the hand moving around. Yeah, it does work.
That's awesome.
He
Look
did
at this.
put a little motor in there and made
fabulous.
it move.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Bless him, because he's sent me some things that he's made as gifts, and like they've got mechanisms in, and they're just super cool. Very talented.
He is extremely talented. Yeah, he really, really is. Right, I'm going to do one more roll, and then we're going to work with what I've got. I would keep going, but I quite like it. You know, I quite like that difference. Now, I've made it far too big than I need for the mould, but that's fine. So let's have a little look what we've got here. Shall we make this as big as we can get it?
Let's do it.
I just hope this clay isn't too wet. I'm going to bring in that dirty brush again. Or maybe I'll go for a clean one. Let me see if I've got another one. I think they've all got paint on them. Not to worry. Right, let's go in with a little bit of cornflour. I think this is pink now.
That'll be all right.
Let's go into those pipes a little bit, because I know I'm going to have spare. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just so you get the effect. Now, normally I tap out any excess. Now I'm looking at my bird and I'm thinking, what area, what colour do I want on his head? Where shall I work with this? Shall we give him a red head?
Yeah, why not?
Let's have a little bit of green on there as well. So I'm choosing, just take some of this off.
I love you can just cut it with scissors.
So I'm choosing the area that I want that red and green to pick up. Now I can feel with my finger where that head is, so I can start to now not only press in, but I can start to peel back. As long as you've covered the base of the mould, then you can turn the colour back and start to fill. So I'm using it as a sheet. There's the beak, look. If you just press down, you can see the edge of the mould. So rather than waste some of this, I might want to keep that blend a little bit. So I'm just going to snip a little bit away. Okay.
They're saying in our ear that this looks really satisfying.
Right, so now I'm really sort of pushing into place all of the clay that was overhanging, knowing that I've got that colour there. Now I'm coming in from the bottom. It's a little bit like dressmaking. You know when you cut, when you've got corners and curves and you have to snip into it.
Love that.
You can do that with your clay as well.
Now, I do apologise that we've got issues in the call centre. So we are working extremely hard to fix it. Do apologise. We will let you know when things get back up and running. But as I keep saying, don't give up, because these moulds are worth the wait. So we'll try and get this fixed as soon as possible. Okay.
Okay. So as you're just chatting there, Alex, I'm just going to keep feeding this in. I'll fill in what I can, seeing as, you know, we've got nowhere else to go at the moment. Now what you've got here is an area that is level with the outer frame of the mould. If you get those areas, they're not meant to be covered over. If you do cover them over, don't panic. You can always sort of correct that later. I'm just folding in from the other side now, so I've covered the base of the mould. You might be thinking, oh, this takes a bit of time. Do you know, it's well worth it.
Absolutely.
The effect that you
Can't wait
get
to
is
see the
well
reveal.
worth it. Yeah, and it always looks different to how you imagine as well. So I'm just pushing that into there. We'll get a little bit of the pipe work. I'm now going to go in with my rolling pin, because that will help me see, you know, if I've got excess clay or if I need to build it up anywhere. So the head is a little bit low, so I'm going to take some of that spare clay. It doesn't matter what colour it is. Take some of that spare clay, just fill in that little delve there. I'm trying to save that stripy bit. The rest of it's not looking bad at all. I always tidy up as best I can.
You're very good. You're very good at doing that.
The thing is, if you don't tidy up the clay,
Yeah.
you've only got to tidy it up after it comes out of the mould. So you're better off doing it straight away. Do you know what? I'm looking at that clock there, that dial. Shall we go with that dial? Shall we go? Let's go. Shall we go with
that nice blue?
Yeah.
That's such a lovely
got a little
blue.
bit of red there as well. So I can actually bring that clay down and join it with the pipe at the bottom. So at any point you can decide to stop or just carry on. As I say, if you wanted to fill the whole thing with clay, you certainly could do, but you know, you can break this down into many components. So really sort of push that down hard. Again, if you've not quite topped it up, you go back in with a bit of the spare clay, make sure that it's picked up all that detail. You can get away with not filling it too full, but you will find that if you don't fill it, you will probably miss some detail. You know, you're better off doing it properly the first time round. Now there's just a little bit there, I think wants topping up. Just make sure that that's full, and then I think we're almost good to go.
Can't wait for this, the anticipation.
Do you know, I always get nervous at this point, but it always works. Let's just get that little bit there. So it looks really messy from the back, doesn't it? It doesn't look pretty at all. And just because the beak is quite fine, I'm just making sure I've pushed that into the beak.
Yep.
Okay, now to tidy up properly, so pulling inwards from the outside edge again, just to make sure we can see the edge of the mould. That will give us a better finish overall. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's see if we can get this out in one piece.
The anticipation. No pressure, Kathryn, no pressure.
I am going to give it a little bit of a helping hand there. Now again, if my clay was a little bit drier, a little less rubbery, it would just fall out in one piece. Just going to watch that vulnerable bit there. I'll give that a little bit of a helping hand. We're nearly there actually, it's almost out, there we are.
Oh, Oh, wait. Cool, look how cool this is.
Look at that. Oh, I love that.
He's very funky,
I
isn't he?
love that. So what I would do is, see, we've got almost where the black blend was, the black and the grey is at the bottom, but we can see where the red and the green went almost into a brown there. And you could, of course, bring out that detail again with your paints, with your waxes. There is a little, I'm going to point this out actually, there's a little area there where I didn't clean the clay up. That's what I mean. It's one of those posts that sticks up that's meant to be a gap. So if you do realise you've missed any bits, you can tidy it up afterwards.
That's good.
But I'm not going to mess with him too much at the minute because I don't want to bend his legs and stretch his legs.
That is super cool.
But
really like that.
we'll have another look at that when it's dried a little bit more.
How long will that take to dry?
I would say leave overnight if you possibly can, because even though that will feel very dry on the top, quite quickly, within 20 minutes or so, inside the clay it will still be very wet. So if you can leave it overnight, especially if you're sticking onto card or paper or something that's absorbent, because it will leach out the moisture in the clay. But yeah, I don't quite know what I'm going to do with him yet. If you want to shape around a jar, or I can imagine these steampunk pieces around a tin bucket or something like that, and do the whole bucket. So you can actually stick this. This is where I would use a little bit of PVA glue. I'd have my bucket or my tin or whatever it is I want to mould it around ready to go. I'd add a little bit of glue to the back and I would mould it around so it dries in situ. Yeah.
And then what do you do? Hold it with an elastic band, or?
Not with the air dry clay at this stage, because it would cut into that clay. So you don't need to do anything. If you've got the glue on there, it'll be fine. Okay.
Good stuff. Right then, this is the one-day special, brand new today. I know, highly anticipated. We are still working on the phone lines and the website, so please bear with us. But we will get there. But look, these are the beautiful images that you've got here. You've got 36 impressions. You've got a £15 saving on the one-day special, and just look at all this detail. As Kathryn said, they're food grade safe, but if you are going to use foods and things, make sure you get a separate set if you're then going to use clay. 2 payments then, if you want to spread the cost of £27.49. Just look at this one with your machines. I just love all the different types of steampunky glasses. You've got the very wise owl. Just love all of that construction. It's brilliant. 489734 is the item number. Right then, we're just going to tell you a little bit about how to become a Freedom member. Here is Leonie.
Have you heard of Freedom? Did you know that as a Freedom member, you could be making savings on every order you place? For just £7.97 a month, you will benefit from selected Freedom member discounts and complimentary standard delivery on every order you place. You will also receive our exclusive Freedom members badge, giveaways and crafty updates. If you shop with a craft store more than twice a month, then Freedom is for you. Don't forget, your Freedom membership is flexible, so you can pause if you're going away, or you can cancel at any time you decide. So what are you waiting for? Give us a call or go to our website, quoting the item number 88888, and join Freedom today.
Lovely jubbly. So, are we looking at resin now?
Well,
what do you think?
Do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go. Hopefully we'll get to mix a bit of resin up. I really want to reuse my mould, you see.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't got dozens of different moulds, so to be able to reuse this mould, I've got to get this out. The resin itself, if you've ever watched the shows before, you know I like to pour it. I like to leave it maybe 6 to 8 hours.
Oh, right.
And then release each piece because it stays malleable, so you can shape it again if you want to shape it around jars or bottles. In fact, I've got a bottle with me. I didn't pour into the whole of the mould. So unlike the clay, where I would say don't fill it all and then take them out, with the resin you can.
That's good.
Because you can release them all in one go. I've had a little bit of a test and I can see that this is starting to come away. It is a little bit more, not sticky, it doesn't feel sticky, it's a little bit more malleable than I would like, but do you know what, because I do want to use this mould, I'm going to go for it anyway. So you should be able to see how soft this is. The thing is, if you take it out too quickly, you are at risk of stretching the resin. Okay, so I am going to try and be quite careful.
Was that already a pre-coloured resin, or you?
Yeah, I'm going to show you how to colour. We've got the Resin tint in.
Ooh,
now,
good stuff.
a lot of these, not all of them, some are a solid colour. Some I've put some mica powder in. Some I've mixed the colour. So until I get them out, I have absolutely no idea how they're going to look. Now, as I say, this is a little bit too stretchy, really, but we're just going to work with it. So if you find it's not, again, not popping out, leave it a little bit longer. But let me just flip that over. Look at that. There is your sun and your moon.
That image.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
But you can see how flexible this is. I mean, that is really soft.
Yeah.
Really, really soft. But at this point, or if you just let it dry a little bit more, cure a little bit more, you then can mould this around your jars, your tubs, whatever it is that you want to put around. Now with this one, you can put something over it to hold it. Probably rather than elastic bands, I would wrap cling film.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Cling wrap around there to keep that down. Because this is still very malleable, that will probably hold and stick anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave that on there. Let's see what else we can get out, because, and then we'll mix some resin if we've got time.
Cool.
Just to show the different methods. So again, let's just have a look. Some of these are a little bit too sticky. I'll probably leave it until 8 o'clock. Well, that one's going to come out a bit better, I think. So I did put kind of a copper mica powder in. So
oh, yeah. This is going to look really cool.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, I love that.
There you can see. So some of them will have more powder on than others. Some, the powder is sort of worked into the resin. Some I've marbled as well, but that I adjusted the mould quite heavily
No, it's
with
fabulous.
the powder there. Shall we switch moulds and see what we can get out of the machines?
Cool.
Now, while I'm here, I'm just going to point something else out as well. When I poured the resin, I've only part filled where it says machines.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was just to prove a point, really. If ever you're mixing resin and you've got spare, never ever tip it down the sink.
Okay. Will it cause a blockage?
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you can do is put it into your moulds, even if you're not filling them, because you can put layer upon layer upon layer of resin.
Okay.
So what I've done here, I overfilled the glasses and scraped a little bit over and let it drip into the word machines. And as I do mix more in the show, I'm going to top that up.
Yeah.
So by the end of the show, we'll see that, and we'll see different colours
That'd
coming
be
through
great.
as well.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can get out. Oh, there's the owl lot. Let's see if we can get Mr. Owl out. Actually, this is all in one piece, so
Oh, it is.
I don't know how successful this is going to be. I'm being very brave here. Very, very brave.
Biscuit for a biscuit.
I seriously want to use this mould. Okay, so let's just keep, some areas have cured a little bit more than others. Now, curing time will vary depending on the temperature. Also, what you've mixed into the resin. Because I've used the Resitint in here to colour it, and it does slow down the curing time a little bit. So I'm making it look more awkward than it probably is. It's going to come out, this one. Yeah, it is a big mould. So it's just,
Fabulous.
you can see there the line coming through. Just want to be a little bit careful of his legs there. Let's tip it over and ease this one out now.
I find this all so satisfying.
Do you know, it never, ever gets boring.
I bet.
Because you never know what results you're going to get. So I'm just peeling this back. Don't be afraid at peeling back. Don't be afraid of bending the moulds.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're so flexible.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. We're nearly there. I know you can't see, but I can.
You're hiding it from us.
It's coming out. This is going to look good, actually. Right, nearly there. There we go.
Oh, look at this.
So there's a little bit of resin there that just wants peeling off. So what I've done here with this one, if I just explain, I did dust the mould with some of the bronze, but not all of it. And I went in with a colour, 2 different colours of Resitint with the resin. I wanted the owl more or less a solid colour because I can do different things, but I wanted a bit of yellow where the beak is, on the woodpecker there. There's lots of cogs and pipes, so we do want kind of that rusty sort of effect there. So we'll add more colour to this as we go through the shows, I think. But that, I'll just pick that up again, just to prove you, that is one piece. That is one piece of resin. Again, if you want to break that down into smaller pieces, you certainly can. Look how malleable that is.
Yeah. How hard will it go in the end?
It will go really hard. In fact, I've got, let me just find one that's done.
Oh wow, yeah.
So this is resin. You can see from the back there.
Cool.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
You can actually reheat it. If you heat it with a heat gun, you can heat it and remold it to a point.
Right.
It will put stress on the resin. You'll only be able to take it so far before it would sort of crack or break, and it would set hard again. So if you've, what I've done before, Alex, I've left bits in the car to cure. You know, when I've left the studio, I've had them on a tray, and I've left them in the car, and then bits have dropped into a box and got bent. And then I thought, well, that's no good. That's not going to stay flat. So I've took the heat gun to it and then put something heavy on top, and it's once it's cooled down, it's stayed flat again. Nice. So we are, if we've got time, let me just put that to one side. We'll mix a little bit of resin.
I'd like that, yeah.
Just to talk through this, and I'll top up the machines, I think. Or, you know, we'll work with this one, but I won't be able to demold any more of this until tomorrow morning.
Got you.
Because, you know, this is going to be wet.
Okie dokie. So
always a good idea to wear gloves. The resin itself, the Alichem resin that we've got, the one that we normally have, it's the same again today. If you've not seen it before, it's the Total Cast. There is a difference between the Total Cast and the Master Cast. The Total Cast, it stays malleable a little bit longer. It's great for moulds, it's great for jewellery, it's great for painting over your picture surfaces to protect them and to add that coating there as well. It's not a resin that's good for coasters.
Okay.
Because if you put hot cups on it, it will mark.
Okay.
But yeah, great for all your other purposes. So I'm just putting the gloves on, and I have got my little silicone jugs.
Are those easy to get hold of?
We don't have them here, but if you look online, you should be able to find them.
Righty-ho.
Yeah. I'm just going to find a pen. Now, I usually weigh, but I still haven't put new batteries in my scales. I've got a new set of scales for wool, but I can't get those covered in resin. So I'm just going to look for the markings on my jug, which I can't see at all. Where have they gone?
Can't see them either.
This is the only problem with them. They don't show up very well. That one looks plain. Let me find this one. Did we see that one?
I can't see from here.
Other side. It's not inside out. Do you know these? I'm going to mark there, and I'm going to mark there. It depends how I hold this with the light, if I can see it or not. I'm only going to mix. So this is one marking, that is another one. So I'm going, because it's a 1 part to 1 part resin.
Good stuff. That's easy to
I'm going
remember.
to go with that right now. So the one with the white cap, now we sell this in different sizes. This is the large one. I go through tons of this. I just love the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the first mark that I've made. I know you can't see it, but I can.
Yep, got that.
Okay, so this is the resin itself. Then I'm going to go with the second part hardness. Put your lid on the first bottle before taking the lid off the second one so you don't get them mixed up. This one will look a little bit more gloopy because I've got kind of a funny plastic bit on the top of the lid there. So let's just pour right up to the second mark.
Just to let everybody know at home, currently we can't change the details on screen, so if you are looking for this, the resin, have a look on the website. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, I'm just having a rummage in my bag to find a colour, and I've found
what you got?
Racing Green.
Ooh.
There's a little bit of black already in the machine words, so I'm going to go with Racing Green. This again, this is made specifically to use with resin.
Have we got these on the web as well?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This is your resin tint. Now you only need a tiny bit. I've just given that a bit of a stir, so there's far more on there than probably I need. I don't want to make this too dark, you see, otherwise it will look almost like the black. But I've scraped off what I can there.
Gosh, that's tiny amounts.
Yeah, but look how the colour changes.
Wow, it's very potent. Nice.
This goes such a long way. You can also mix colours as well. I do believe we have we got a pick and mix on it? I think we do. I know we can't show it, but we have a pick and mix, I think. So you're choosing any two. If you want just two, my top tip usually is to go for a black and a white.
Okay.
Simply because when you work with resin, we tend to start with a white or a black base, don't we? We
Right.
tell you to gesso things. The good thing about putting the resin into the resin is it means that straight away you don't have to worry about putting that base colour down. So any of the mediums that you're putting on the top, if you go too thickly with them, you're just going to be filling all the detail up. So to pre-colour the resin means you're not going to compromise on any of that detail at all.
Lovely.
Okay, so now this particular colour stays quite transparent. Some are a little bit different. You will find a difference between them. Some are more opaque, some are a little bit more transparent. I could make that more opaque if I wanted to put more colour in there.
I like the transparency.
Yeah, I do actually, so I'm going to stick with that. So, just put the lid on there. Now, don't worry about getting resin onto the outside of the mould. Before I pour that in and come back to that, can you see here? In fact, look, should we take that one out?
That one looks cool.
Let's take that out. I'll show you that in a second. In fact, if these are all going to come out, I'm going to take them all out. Then I've got them for later.
That's another thing that's very satisfying. So that was
really
resin
is.
as well?
Yeah, yeah.
How
So they're
come
still
that's-
very, very malleable.
Yeah, because that looks more opaque, that.
Yeah,
Like a matte finish?
what I've used here is the black, but
Okay.
I've had a little bit of the bronze powder still in there as well, so I've got a difference
like
in the
that.
colour, how that's come through.
Nice.
But we do have waxes and things that we will be using to bring out that detail further. Right, so if you remember, what I said was I'd kind of scrape some of the resin into the wording there. Any resin that you get on the outside of your mould, don't worry about it, it will just flake away. You can see how that will come off. Obviously, if you're working with fine detail, try not to waste it. You know, you do want to try and keep it, you know, use it. You don't want to lose it all. I'm just going to give this another really big stir, simply because I'm purposely putting lots of bubbles in it, Alex.
Why? Well, why?
To show you how to get rid of them.
Oh, okay.
Ideally at home, you want to fold this more than rapidly stir it, because
Okay.
the less bubbles you create, the better. But just to show you how to get rid of them. So there's a number of different ways. So I am going to work with the machines, but now I've taken those of the moulds out, I'm going to show you something else as well. I think you can probably see on the overhead there's lots of bubbles in there. We can just, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
There's lots of bubbles in there.
looks like jelly.
Yeah, it does. Now, obviously, you must have a gloved finger to do this, but if you go into your mould with a gloved finger and just wipe the surface first, this will help reduce any surface bubbles.
Ah.
You can also build layers of colour. You've probably seen me do this before. I probably will do it at some point throughout the shows, where I go with one colour, let it set, go with another colour and build up in layers, and you can do different techniques. But for this one, I am actually going to do more of a full pour, although this is a full mould, so there's a little trick I can show you there in a second as well. So I'm just going to pop that in there. That will help get rid of some of those bubbles. But if you're doing a pour, let's say into the glasses here, you don't need to prime the mould with anything.
But will that have bubbles in?
It has got bubbles in.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now there's one or two things you can do before pouring. You can stand your jug in warm water. That will help bring the bubbles to the surface. You can tap your mould as well. These are solid enough to be able to tap them. I'm going to put a little bit into the machine's word, and I'm doing this on purpose. I'm not being careful. I'm just going to, just to prove a point when I do release these tomorrow, that, you know, you can tidy it all up. So if I just pour some of that in there.
I love that consistency. I love it.
Now, I would normally take more care and not get so much on the surface, but I have got quite a lot there. But that's fine. Let me just find my spatula. What you can do, you can scrape, because the thinner the excess resin is, the easier it will be to remove. This is why these moulds are really good for resin as well, because if you've got any left over, you've got lots of small areas to fill. Okay, now I'm going to get the heat gun now, because once you've poured, to get rid of those bubbles, you just turn this on. Hopefully we can see lots of bubbles in there. As soon as I put the heat there, it's as they're starting to disappear. Look at that. Look how clear that's gone now.
Fabulous.
They're just bursting.
It's almost like watching heat embossing, as in...
It is.
Just because you're chasing it around.
Yeah. It's like they're dancing. Now, there is another little tip I'm going to give before we run out of time. And that is, especially where you've got really, really sort of delicate areas or pointy bits, even though you take your heat gun to it and you're helping disperse those bubbles, they are likely to trap where you've got fiddly bits. So go in with a cocktail stick or a pointy tool or the end of a paintbrush and just sort of go into the mould itself, just to make sure. You probably can't see this because of the darkness of the mould and the colour that I've used here, but I can see that I am actually still finding some air bubbles in there, so it's worth spending that little bit of time to do that.
Oh, there, yeah.
I think that's a bit of resin that's set there.
Oh, is it?
From before. I see. And because the resin that was already in there has already been setting, those two colours, I know you can't say something, but we'll see this later, the two colours aren't going to merge together. How long we got left?
A minute.
A minute. I am just going to show you very, very quickly, if I can find it in time. Oh, where's it gone, where's it gone, where's it gone? Your Medina clay, the Medina air dry clay. You can use that as a little stop to stop your resin flowing over. So build a little bridge.
Yeah.
So if you wanted just to fill the owl, build up with a bit of that clay.
That's cool.
And that will help that stopping it flowing.
Yeah.
So I know we're almost out of time, so I am going to pour the rest of the resin into that owl so it's setting ready for tomorrow.
Thank you, Kathryn. Once again, we can only apologise about our system going down. Please do keep trying. We are working on it. I know there's phone calls galore going on in our ears, etc. So don't give up. They are fantastic moulds. They really are. But we should still see you again at 8 o'clock.
Back at 8 o'clock, yeah, even if it's just playtime.
It sounds good to me. Stay tuned.